5 years after Jammu and Kashmir was declared a union territory, the time has now come to reinstate full statehood to the region. The election dates have now been announced. Jammu and Kashmir has come a long way from the time that it was granted the special status to the time when the valley witnessed Kashmiri Pandit genocide. It was not too long ago when Kashmir bled, when the separatist-led administration ensured that there was no peace in the state. Terrorist infiltration was a common thing. Locals, the police, the Indian army getting shot down was an everyday occurrence. Stone pelting incidents and dharnas and protests happened every day. Lal Chowk in Srinagar wore a deserted look. The cinema halls were forever shut. Schools and colleges hardly saw any students. The youth were brainwashed into becoming the proxies and overground workers of Pakistan-backed terrorists. There was no scope of growth, of development or of progress. It has been 5 years since the abrogation of Article 370. And Kashmir is experiencing a transformational change. The valley is practically free of terrorism. There are jobs for youth. Children can go to school. There are conglomerates, domestic and foreign, who want to set up base in the valley and invest. There is rapid infrastructure development. The stooges of Pak-backed terrorists have been all but wiped out. It was in the first time since 50 years that the people of Kashmir came out in record numbers to cast their ballot in the recently held Lok Sabha elections. This was in defiance of Pakistan's sinister agendas to keep Kashmir in the grip of terror. Today marks a historic day, a new chapter in the history of Kashmir and of India. This is Naya Kashmir, which we all have forever dreamt for, hoped for. Let's start our conversation. Joining me on the telecast is Ahmed Ayaz. He's a political analyst. And Ahmed, let's hear it from you. The big announcement that we all had been waiting for a really long time. And with the elections that are on the anvil, can we safely say that after abrogation of Article 370 from Kashmir, this is the next major step that has taken place, which will allow for normalization of the situation of Jammu and Kashmir?
No, in fact, elections have been held even right from 1953, and then even after this extreme disturbances of 1990, these were held. It's not that it was not held despite the conditions very bad. The elections used to be conducted. Of course, we can say that just after abrogation of Article 370 is for the first time. You see, though the Article 370 was not abrogated to see that the conditions here improve or any other thing will set right, it was basically on the agenda of the BJP right from the beginning. So it had nothing to do with the improvement of the situation or anything connected with the elections, because elections were held otherwise also. Well, we can say it is done after a period of gap of 10 years. That's a welcome step. And this time, the problem has been people are willing to participate in the elections. Maybe this time they will have more participation for the reasons that these are being held after 10 years. And then new voters have come in. They have been registered and they would like to cast vote. And third being, after abrogation of Article 370, whatever, impact it played even during the abrogation of Article 370, whatever situations took place that people...
Okay, I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you, Ahmed Ayaz. There seems to be a network issue over there. I'd request you to join us back. Meanwhile, Nirmal Singh, who's the former Deputy Chief Minister, joining me on the telecast as well. Nirmal Singh, what Ahmed Ayaz said, that there have been elections that have been held in the past as well, with a majority of the people of Jammu and Kashmir coming out in large numbers and voting. And this is back in the 1950s. What has changed from 1953 up until now in 2024?
Everybody in Jammu and Kashmir know that what was the situation in Jammu and Kashmir. Because the politics of Kashmir-centric parties who believed in loose accession, and ultimately they taught 3 generations of Kashmiris that though you are in India, but you are not, you are special. You are different from the rest of the Indians. So ultimately it led to this separatism, and we have seen that separatist organizations, both terrorists and others, they were there, and ultimately this separatist movement, it took the shape of jihadi terrorism, and we lost 50,000 people in Jammu and Kashmir. So that was the situation. And after the abrogation of Article 370, we have seen that there's a change, big change in Jammu and Kashmir, in the sphere of Jammu and Kashmir. 2 crore people, they visited as tourists. Amarnath Yatra was very peaceful. We see that Tiranga, we have seen Tiranga in every house, on every house. And the children of Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir, they were singing the national anthem. That's a change.
Okay.
And development activity, you see that it's on a larger scale. So this is the change. And now the elections have come. Before that, there were panchayat elections, BDC elections, DDC elections, BDC elections. They were held after 70 years. Then there were assembly Lok Sabha elections, and the bumper voting was there. That was a challenge to Pakistan, and that's why we have seen during the last month, Pakistani terrorists, they were forced into our Jammu province, and they were killing innocents. But they have been contained as of now. The Kashmiri boys, they are not being recruited now, because the Kashmiri parents, they know that, and even the young boys, they know that it's a futile exercise, and Pakistan is exploiting them. So that's the change. And now the elections have come. People of Jammu and Kashmir will get their own assembly, their own government. And we see that with the help of center, the Jammu Kashmir, which is peace and order was not there, the development was not there. Ultimately, reconstruction of Jammu Kashmir.
Okay, all right, fair enough, sir. I have with me Raja Munib as well. And Raja Munib, how do you see, when we talk about the last 50 years before abrogation of Article 370, and you see, the adverse impact on Kashmir, particularly because of terrorism that had been infested in the region for decades together. And as I mentioned in my introduction, that there were schools and colleges mostly shut, there were no youth that would come and attend it, no jobs for the youth, all forms of entertainment, no theatres that would be opened. I think the last time a theatre was opened was after a prolonged period of, 30, 40, 50 years. There was no investment. Tourists, the foot count, the number of tourists who would visit Kashmir had dwindled, absolutely almost negligible. There would be these terror attacks, there would be targeted killings, there would be locals who would be attacked, who would be killed, the armed forces, the police personnel, and that was a regular occurrence. After abrogation of Article 370, 5 years have elapsed. The situation in Kashmir largely under control. You've seen the Lok Sabha elections, as Dr. Nirmal Singh said, that there have been panchayat elections that have taken place, local body elections that have taken place. Is there now new vigor with which people are coming to terms with Naya Kashmir and the next chapter that we see, where the assembly elections take place next month?
Thank you, Megha. So basically, if you look at the fundamental change which has happened, which you also mentioned in Kashmir, it has been post-abrogation of 2019. Now, the elections which are held in 90s also, we also know that the separatist protest used to be high, stone pelting used to be very high, and there always used to be a call by the separatist organizations to boycott. So what that in effect did was that kept the voting percentages and large masses away from the electoral process. People, there were assembly segments where a constituency would be decided on a meager vote of 5 to 7 to 8%. Constituencies like Sopur never voted more than 8 or 10% in total, right? So that would decide the fate. But this time around, if you see, even in the parliamentary elections, where the boycott has been very high, and let me quote Sopur, the percentages have crossed 40. So that tells you that people actually want to, integrate themselves to the democratic process, number one. Two, they have high hopes from the new political dawn which has emerged in the valley post the abrogation of Article 370, after 2019. And the trend seems to continue to the assembly elections. This also gives a lot of youth who really wanted to participate in the elections were kept away. We had seen a lot of stone pelting, and the youth were at the forefront of that stone pelting and separatist movements, which used to boycott the elections in Jammu and Kashmir. But now what we are seeing is a large, representation of the youth in Jammu and Kashmir who actually want to come into the electoral fold, who want to contest also, and apart from that, who actually want to go out and vote also. We have seen first-time voters coming very enthusiastically, coming out in parliamentary elections and, voting and casting their votes. So that tells you the fundamental change which has emerged on the ground post abrogation of Article 370 after 2019. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Ahmed Ayaz, I'll bring you back into the conversation. And the kind of narrative that is also being peddled by a number of political leaders from regional parties talking about democracy had been thwarted in the last 5 years. There has also been, some anomalies. For example, Rashid Engineer, who won the election in Jammu and Kashmir during the Lok Sabha polls that were taking place, he's been behind bars in the UAPA section that has been levied against him. Do you think this is good for the democracy? Do you think this is good for the administration and for the people of Jammu and Kashmir if there are elements such as Rashid Engineer who get elected with large percentage of people voting for them?
You see, in a democracy, the government is for the people and by the people, rather by the people and for the people. And how does it come in? That only it is if the people vote and then they elect their representatives and ultimately the government is formed. And for that purpose, even Prime Minister comes by election of the people. So there we find that everything is fine whenever we, it suits us that they elect someone and then we take him and we protocol him or whatever. And then right now that we are in the session of election, though it's not settled held, but we could find that some days back, there was a preparation meeting to see that the facilities for the incoming MLAs, etc. That's a procedure under democracy that you need to respect the opinion of the people, the mandate of the people. So that's why the elections are held. So if that has been done in the case of Engineer Rashid also, I think even if there is something, whatever government alleges about it or whatever allegations are there against him, and then when the government, that will mean that people should decide and people are the super, and then whatever the people decide, they will have to accept. So when you don't accept the mandate of the people, then I don't know really whether we call that we are, then what's the point of asking people to vote and elect their representative? If that was the case, that Engineer Rashid was not to be seen that he contests, then he should not have been allowed to contest. See, that way it looks to be a mockery, because we have to respect that mandate of the people. If people can elect anybody, and then why not? Or they can reverse any decision of the government. Supposing everybody comes tomorrow on this saying that we don't this particular decision, I think government is bound to reverse that. Why? Because people want it.
Okay.
So you have to respect the opinion of the people.
Okay. Dr. Nirmal Singh, the same question to you. Now, there was a time that there were separatists that orchestrated the way elections were to be held. There, like I said, Pakistan-backed terrorists who would fund these separatists, these youth, who would then go on to execute their work of terrorism across the state of Jammu and Kashmir, and also to a certain extent influencing the political structure, the political system of Jammu and Kashmir. How do we ensure that something of the sort does not happen in the assembly elections that are to be held now?
First of all, I'll give my reaction to the you can say point that Engineer Rashid, who has been elected by the people, he is not allowed to come out and participate in the real democratic process, as has been said by earlier speaker. This is the beauty of Indian democracy, that even criminals, alleged criminals, they are allowed, unless they are punished by the courts, they are allowed to participate in the elections. And it's not happening for the first time. It was in a large number of cases in earlier also. But what is his position? Whether he can come out of the jail or not, it has to be decided by the courts. So court has its own, I could say, jurisdiction. So if Engineer Rashid, no doubt, he was allowed by the Constitution of India to contest, and he has contested election and won the elections. That's one side, one thing. But cases on him for which he is behind the bars, that's a separate thing. So we must not mix two. There's a case in Punjab also, and there were cases in earlier also. So far as what shall be the scenario in Jammu and Kashmir with regard to the you can say law and order, the terrorism, all that. You'll see that our Election Commission of India, they have announced 3 phases only. It shows the confidence of our security forces, the law and order agencies, that they are capable of holding elections in 3 phases. Earlier, it used to be 5 phases, 6 phases. And despite the fact that Pakistan did try to sabotage this process, because after Lok Sabha elections, when there was a bumper voting, not only in Jammu but in Kashmir also, so that defeated Pakistan's agenda.
Okay.
After that, they pushed in a large number of terrorists.
Yes,
but they have been contained, they have been killed, or they have been apprehended. So our army is after that. So you'll see that all these elections shall be very peaceful. And the new government shall be able to run the state in a very peaceful manner with the support of the center.
Okay. Raja Munib, is 5 years enough for a transformation that is required to ensure that Jammu and Kashmir remains peaceful without any disturbances from external forces, terrorist forces?
See, what is going to, Megha, we have to understand that we cannot wish terrorism away. There is a difference in insurgency and terrorism. What Kashmir is free today largely is also of the insurgency which it saw in last 30, 35 years. But terrorism from across the border, sadly, is continuing, and it will continue till Pakistan is a nation, and that is a sad reality which we have to comes to fact with. But elections after 5 years, absolutely. Why? Because if you have to show the youth a forward way, and you need them to participate, and you need to create organic new leadership. Because when you talk about Engineer Rashid, I think looking at it only from the separatist perspective is not right. Also remember that Engineer Rashid is the man who defeated Umar Abdullah and Sajjad Lone both in North Kashmir. That tells you also that people are tired of the system, the existing political system in the valley, the family kind of political system in the valley, and they're looking at alternative leaders who they think can take Kashmir forward. So this is a very good opportunity to groom young people, to bring them into the main fold, to bring them into the ambit of democracy, to create new organic leadership from the ground. And that can only happen when you have elections happening in Kashmir on time. Because unless and until youth doesn't participate in these activities, it's very difficult to create a democratic structure going forward, which is going to keep the state completely free of terrorism, and also, give a new hope for the young guys to come and join the mainstream main fold. So right. I think it's a very good step and should have been followed. Yeah.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.